The day this video is being uploaded marks 1 year since my cat Charlie passed away. I really can't believe we're already at the year anniversary of his death, because the pain and grief I feel surrounding his death is just as strong as it was when he first passed away. Charlie was the first pet I'd ever grown attached to. We had a cat before Charlie, when I was a little kid. I tried to play with that cat and be friendly with it, but that cat was nasty to everyone who wasn't my grandma. And one day when I tried to play with that cat, it stabbed my right ring finger, and to this day on that finger, I have a teeny tiny little scar. So that's the little memento I have of that cat that will be a part of me for the rest of my life. That cat passed away only a few months after Charlie was born. That cat eventually developed a nasty tumor that was growing on its head, and eventually we put that cat down. My father also had a cat named Sammy. Sammy was also kinda nasty like the cat we had here, though Sammy was not as mean. Sammy did have his tender moments sometimes. He let me pet him on a few occasions, but all in all, my relationship with cats wasn't all that great until Charlie was born. I preferred dogs at the time because my father had an old dog named Holly, and she was a really sweet dog. Probably the only dog I've ever encountered that I could tolerate. But then on April 1st of 2008, Charlie was born, and yes, that is actually his birthday and not an estimation. My grandmother was sweeping under the back porch and noticed that Charlie's mother, who we eventually named Debbie, and she unfortunately passed away back in 2019, some of you may remember that, was giving birth to kittens, and I had either just gotten back from school or the school bus was about to drop me off. But either way, my grandmother told my mom, who was home at the time because she was unemployed due to the financial crisis at the time, and then my mom told me that a cat was having kittens under the porch, so we all raced to go watch these kittens being born, and one of the kittens I watched being born was Charlie. And one of the other cats I watched being born was our other cat, Timmy, who is actually still alive. She is going to be 17 this April, and yes, Timmy is a girl. I named her before we found out she was a girl. Oof. It wasn't until around June of the same year that we brought Charlie and Timmy into the house, and it was originally supposed to just be Charlie we were going to take in. My grandma wanted to take Charlie in because she felt Charlie was the cutest out of his litter, and she liked his mostly white fur. The reason we also took Timmy in is because a family friend who was living with us at the time noticed that Charlie and Timmy were inseparable. We never saw them apart. They were always together, so we felt it was the right thing to do to also bring Timmy in, even if my grandmother wasn't so crazy about that because she always felt that Timmy was ugly. Which is pretty mean, because I think Timmy is a pretty cat. I might flash a picture of her up on screen for those of you who may not know what she looks like. So we took them both in. They remained close as kittens, but as they got older, they kind of drifted apart and did their own thing. Timmy became really attached to my uncle, and Charlie got really attached to me. And it was really special because, again, I had never had a special relationship with a cat before Charlie. Many people have that once-in-a-lifetime pet who perfectly complements your personality, is your companion, and that's exactly what Charlie was to me. On most days, Charlie would follow me everywhere, and I never complained because I loved his presence so much. If I was laying in bed, he'd be on the bed next to me. If I felt like going downstairs to sit on the recliner, he would follow me downstairs and sit next to me on the recliner. I like playing video games until late at night, and he would always accompany me, whether I would be up here playing on my PS5. He would be either sitting next to me or on my stomach, and sometimes even looking at the screen, wondering what the fuck I was even doing. Or when I'm playing GameCube games, at night I like to bring my GameCube down, because, you know, the GameCube is small, compact, easy to carry around. It literally has a fucking handle, you know, the complete goddamn opposite of the PS5. Charlie would sit there next to me and accompany me the entire time. He was my fucking shadow. There would even be times where I would be downstairs and I would hear Charlie from my room upstairs meowing his head off because he would want me to come upstairs and pay attention to him. He just yearned for my attention. He always wanted to be around me, and again, I never once complained because because I just loved his presence. There have been many people who have come and gone in my life. People who I once considered friends turned out to be giant asshats and I've since cut them off. Or people who I just don't speak to as much as I used to for one reason or another. A lot of people I went to high school with I haven't really spoken to much since I graduated high school. You know, you move on to a different chapter in life. You're not seeing each other every weekday like you used to, and you naturally just drift apart. Unfortunately, not every friend you make you're going to have for life. But you want to know who outlasted all of those people? Charlie. My one consistent friend who I had for 15 years. There have been many great pivotal moments in my life that Charlie was here for, and there have also been many low points in my life that Charlie was also here for. And for those latter points in my life, Charlie never failed to be a source of comfort for me. If there were days where my depression was just kicking my ass, or if something happened on a certain day that brought me distress, Charlie was there for me. It brought immense comfort to know that at least one living being would always stick by my side and root for me no matter what. Here's one memory of Charlie sticking by my side that sticks out to me. One time when I got a really bad stomach virus around 4 years ago, I believe it was around early 2021. That was a miserable fucking day. I threw up multiple times that day. I had an awful stomach ache the entire day, and after a certain point, every time I threw up, it felt like I was being punched in my stomach really hard. But there is one memory I cherish of that day, or rather the night after that day, and the morning after that day. I went to bed earlier than I usually do because I just felt fucking miserable and wanted to get some sleep. And Charlie did his usual thing, jump on the bed so he can be next to me, but instead of falling asleep, he sat there and was staring at me. And I initially didn't think much of it. I just figured maybe he's not tired yet and feels like just sitting down as opposed to falling asleep. I didn't have a good sleep at all that night. I woke up multiple times because my stomach was bothering me, and I noticed each time I woke up, Charlie would still be sitting there and was looking at me. That's when I realized instead of sleeping, he wanted to make sure I was okay. He knew on some level that something was wrong with me, and that's when I realized I really did have something special. I mean, I already knew that before, but that just confirmed to me without a shadow of a doubt that me and this cat had a special connection. And ever since his death last year, there's just been this huge void that is never going to be filled. I got a new cat back in June. Her name is Pink, to go along with our cat Floyd, who we got in 2023. Take a wild guess what their names are referencing. But obviously she is not a direct replacement of Charlie, nor have I ever viewed her as such. No pet is a direct replacement of a previous one. I love her, and she loves me, and she's also really attached to my mom, which is a first because Charlie and none of the other cats we had before ever really paid attention to my mom. I view it as a next generation sort of thing, and what I mean by that is, around the summer my mom moved into my grandma's room. Her old room's ceiling collapsed because of water damage, and don't worry, we quickly got the ceiling and roof repaired. But my mom has been fine living in my grandma's old room, and my cat Pink likes to stay with her in that room. And before my grandmother died, my grandma's room was Charlie's favorite room. Next to me, the person Charlie was closest to was my grandmother. I have so many memories of being in my grandma's room petting Charlie, and my grandma would be petting Charlie too. And now things have kind of gone full circle because that is now Pink's favorite room, and I'm in that room a lot with my mother, and we're both giving Pink affection, just like me and my grandmother would with Charlie in that room. And even though Pink has been a bright spot in an otherwise awful year for me, and I love her so much, Charlie is always going to be my best friend. Again, I'm not saying I ever expected Pink to be a direct replacement of Charlie. I'm just saying Charlie will forever have a very special place in my heart. Again, having such a special bond with an animal like what me and Charlie had is something that comes once in your life. I don't want to recount the day he died again because it's just too painful, but I feel like a piece of me also died that day. Because things have just never been the same since he died, and I think I will forever feel incomplete without him. Even making these videos hasn't felt the same since he died, because before his death, he would usually be right next to me when I would record these videos, and what helped me concentrate on what I was talking about was petting him. Do you want to know what I do now when I record videos? Pet my sheets pretending it's Charlie. My cat Pink doesn't really like staying in my bed a whole lot. She mostly likes just doing her own thing, which is fine. Of course, I'm not going to force her in here when I'm recording a video. But Charlie really was just pivotal to nearly every facet of my life, and that's why, even a year later, I still have trouble coming to grips with his death. I hardly ever remember my dreams, but this past year, the dreams I do remember are of me petting Charlie, and they just feel so real. Now, I'm not going to say definitively that it's him visiting me from beyond the grave. I know that obviously these are more than likely just dreams. But just the idea of him paying me a visit in my sleep brings me comfort because it reminds me of him going to sleep next to me in my bed, which was most nights. I hope that if there is an afterlife, that someday me and him will be reunited, but for now, I miss the fuck out of Charlie. To any of you watching who have pets, cherish them while you still can, because you never know when the end will arrive. Charlie died seemingly out of nowhere for me. Now in hindsight, he did lose weight and lose energy in the months leading up to his death, but I chalked that up to him just getting old. Now I know that that was likely his body preparing for death, but even still, I didn't see the end coming. And you might not either, so again, please show your pets all the affection you can while they're still around. Rest in peace, Charlie, and also rest in peace, Tony, who I lost in 2023, and rest in peace, Debbie, who passed away in 2019. I hope to see Tony and Debbie again someday as well, and if there is an afterlife, I would hope that my grandmother is taking good care of them currently, like she did when she was alive. That's all I have to say. Bye-bye.